What's up there, Workforce? Chris here with Work to Game. It is part 4. Nothing spoilery here outside of the fact that I'm showing the boss model because there's no way to do a boss guide without it. It is Titan. It's a different Titan than you remember, so there's a lot of mechanics here that you aren't going to see coming, but some that you will. Voice of the Land is going to be your raid wide. It's incredibly important that healers take note of this, because when we start adding damage from things like what's happening now with this grid effect on the ground, where you can see, okay, the first one's going to explode, that's now safe. The second one's going to explode, that's now safe. Anybody who gets that wrong is going to need heals if Voice of the Land is next. These kind of mazes pop up, so you can see it's incredibly important you're aware of the grid at all times, because any mechanic can have a grid type destruction mechanic laid on top. Stone Crusher is your tank buster. I am like 10 or 11 eye levels above the minimum eye level for this, and it still hurts. So just be aware of that, tanks and healers. And then Crumbling Down is going to drop these two like meteors. Don't get hit by both. Definitely kind of run off to the side. You can see the party stacked up, and then one of those meteors is going to end up kind of glowing, and when he does his seismic wave here, you're going to want to go stand behind the one that's not. It's important that once again you master this, because that is going to get a lot harder to do when we start adding other mechanics on top in a bit. Geocrush is a knockback. Just don't get knocked off the level. That's a theme throughout Eden. Don't get knocked off the level. And then we're going to see him line up, and he's going to do a massive landslide. You can be in the row that he's facing, none of the others, otherwise you're going to die, and then you need to get out of the aftershock. So we're going to have to wipe that up and learn from that. And then the next thing is bomb boulders. Bomb boulders is something we've seen before. These are going to drop, and then he's going to make one of them a cobalt bomb, which is going to make it a great deal bigger. As a tank, I ran into the middle the first time. That's the only reason I lived. Otherwise, go stand where everybody else is standing on an edge that doesn't have the big boulder, because when this comes out, it does hurt. Don't do that. Now, when he does his little truck type thing here and casts Fault Zone, what you're going to want to do is not stand under him. Do not do that. The next thing you might think is, okay, well then I gotta be away from him. So go to the big side. You got the right idea there. Get to the big side. But if you get too far away from him, it has a knockback. That's going to kill you too. Our third time was the charm. Line up on him on the big side, the side with 2 squares, get knocked back, and avoid the 2 aftershocks. Avoiding the aftershocks is another pattern you're going to want to have to pay attention to in this fight, because it happens after a lot of mechanics. Cobalt Bomb is going to form a different type thing here. Once again, keep in mind where the big one is. In this case, the middle set's going to explode first. That will become my safe zone for when the second and the third set explode, but there's going to be that maze on the ground, because like I said, every mechanic eventually has something with the grid and possibly aftershocks layered on top, and here's the beginning of that. The meteors go off. Now we've got something happening with the grid where I have to avoid that. And then, of course, you know that it's going to be about the right timing for a seismic wave. It's possible people have taken damage, so healers pick them up as fast as possible, because if they don't get behind this meteor, they're going to die. Now here he comes layering his normal thing as you're avoiding the aftershock. Oh my gosh, now we're having to avoid a bigger cross. And now that's going to have an aftershock. And now he's going to do a bigger landslide. And so you can see that there's a pattern here of avoid something, then the aftershock. Avoid something, then the aftershock. As long as you're okay with that, it doesn't matter what the pattern is, just keep moving and keep yourself alive. Avoiding AoE is the most important thing in this fight. Now here is yet a third boulder pattern. This one is going to have kind of the cross pattern and then the diamond pattern. The cross in this case is going to go off first. It's whatever set lights up first, and that's fairly easy, except that now we're once again layering on that grid on top. And you can see I actually kind of stop what I'm doing and I focus on just staying out of it. Do not get hit by AoE. I cannot say that enough. Last fight, it was don't get knocked off. This fight, it's just don't keep taking damage. It's a ton of damage going out, and much of it is avoidable. You see here we go into a triple truck phase, so it's important you understand that, because it's not like they can just res you. You can't just keep getting knocked off. You have to understand this. Magnitude is basically stack up on him before he does his giant spin attack, and then other than that, there's really nothing to it. It's just rinse and repeat. As soon as you're able to avoid it, this fight becomes very, very simple. But if you are not able to avoid it, a lot of it will wipe you. My name's Chris with Work to Game. I hope you enjoyed all 4 parts of the series. Go get your loot, and I will see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching this video. If you want to check out any other videos, you should click over here. And then we've got like some kind of vlog thing down here in the corner. And then we've got like subscribe. Yeah, like that's really, you should totally do it. This was a complete disaster.